Welcome everyone to the Virtual Ball Boys podcast. My name is Chris, and I am joined once again by my good friend Matt.
Chris, did you know that the Michelin stars, like for restaurants, the Michelin is like the tire company? The tire company does the Michelin restaurant stars.
Actually, to be honest with you, I don't know what the Michelin stars are.
Michelin stars just like rank how fancy your restaurant
is. When I heard Michelin, I did think about the tire company. So then that would make that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what gives them the qualification to be?
I don't know. They just own the fucking restaurant ranking system in Europe, I guess.
So, do they have food critics? Like, I'm curious now. Like,
like Michelin stars are like the most sought after like stars in the restaurant world.
Huh. That's
to
interesting.
Like get your restaurant.
So, like, is that like how they got the Michelin Man like mascot too? Like, you sent him to all those restaurants, and you just like, all right, you get him nice and beefy, get those tires nice and beefy. Because as far as I know, the Michelin Man is just like a stack of like white tires, isn't he?
Yeah,
for the most part.
Right, but I'm just trying. Like, why is a tire company saying what restaurants are good?
My only guess is that they're going off of an index of like, they tires. Like, if I think about a place that has a lot of tires, it would be like a gas station or something, or like a car repair shop. And sometimes those places have like those really shitty convenience stores in the like next to them. So I'm wondering if they're like, how much better than a shitty convenience store is this restaurant? One star?
I don't think we're on the same page.
5, 3, 5.
Welcome to Virtual Ball Boys.
Welcome. So we have a lot to discuss. After a wild card weekend, we are moving into the divisional round. We're down to the Elite 8 of the NFL playoffs. But of course, there's more to that than other things that are happening in the NFL world. There's some coaching news to discuss.
Welcome to Matt Watch.
Yes, we'll start.
We have a head coaching hire. The Carolina Panthers have hired Baylor coach Matt Rule to be the new coach.
There you go.
Head coach, the big head honcho. This has been Matt Watch.
The Baylor head coach, after spending, I believe it was either 2 or 3 years at Baylor.
I think 3.
3 years. He ended up digging that team out of 1-11 hole, and they were very close to winning the Big 12 championship, and beating Oklahoma on 2 different occasions.
Being in the playoffs too.
Potentially could have made the playoffs, did not make it there, and they did not excuse me, they did not finish it up with a win on the season. I know they lost to Georgia in the Sugar Bowl, but at the end of the day, this is a hire that it goes to another trend that's kind of going back. We had a while where like college coaches were not really being considered for head coaching jobs, like at least for like a few years, and then with Cliff Kingsbury last year, and then with Matt Rule this year, it seems like they're trending in that direction. For you, Matt, first of all, congratulations on 4 head coaches named Matt. Second of all,
yes.
What for you as someone who follows the Panthers, big fan of the Panthers, what do you think of this hire?
I like it. I think that the idea of the Panthers need to rebuild their program. This is a good hire for that. It's a guy who can come in, get the players right. He has a lot to work with in terms of talent. Christian McCaffrey, DJ Moore, Curtis Samuel, like on the offensive side. I'm not sure what the quarterback situation is going to be. I still think they should keep Cam, but whatever this rebuild is going to be, I think Matt Rule can handle it.
Yeah, like that's the big thing. It's like, what are they going to do? Because it's like the Panthers, they're not in the worst situation because for multiple years now we've looked at them as potential playoff contenders with the roster that they currently have.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, but you still look at them, and there is still a lot of holes. And certainly, the question is, like you said, what is the quarterback situation at this point? And would they want to trade up to try to get Tua? Would they want to try to get just a quarterback that can sustain them for like only like a few more years? Which then, if that's the case, why not just stick with Cam Newton? But if he's also
if that's the case, they stick with Cam Newton.
But then there's also the contract situation, because like, what if he wants some more money on his deal or whatever? Like, you never know. Like, would they want to kind of keep him around in that sense? There are these questions that it's hard to answer right now with Carolina.
Yeah, I agree with that a lot. It'll be the draft will be, I think, really telling if they do like get Tua or Justin Herbert,
yeah,
or someone like that who they maybe are trying to groom to become the next franchise thing, or maybe they stick with Cam. I don't think Kyle Allen and Will Grier are the answers.
Sure.
Yeah, but you have an insane talent at running back who this offense is going to kind of be built around.
Yeah.
So as long as the quarterback can be, if the quarterback is at Kyle Allen's good end,
yeah,
like on average, like if their average is Kyle Allen's like best performance, I think that's the goal. Which should be the goal for the Panthers.
Right.
Run the offense through McCaffrey.
Exactly.
Yep.
It's not like their defense can't find a way either. Like, they have a good front seven for the most part. And the secondary has been playing better than even during during like the 2017 era, or I should say 20, like back in 2015. Like, their secondary is playing better, like back to that level where it was. And so I don't know. I think the Panthers are just in the most ideal situation. You put a guy like Matt Rule in charge who could really rally the troops. He had a very boisterous, very like preacher level press conference. And it was kind of a moment like, hell yeah, I'm embracing this, and we're gonna get going. So I love the hire for the Panthers. And and we'll get to the Giants in a second, but it was kind of wild how they completely it was one of the craziest days that I remember in terms of like a coaching news day, because Matt Rule was just about to make his trip to the Giants, was going to interview with the Giants, and everyone pegged him to being like, that's all right, he's going to New York, no doubt about it. And so all of a sudden, like, Giants got completely sideswiped, and the Carolina just jumped in, and they were like, "Nope, not gonna do it."
Here's some money, 7 years.
Yeah, it's more money, and he did, and he credit to Matt Rule, he didn't want to just like leave them hanging. He was like, or at least the reports have been saying that he gave the Giants a call, like, okay, do you want to match this? And John Mara ended up coming out later, and he was like, well, for an unproven head coach to get that kind of money, maybe not worth it for us right now, so that's why we went in a different direction. We'll talk about the Giants in a second, but I want to get to the one that was the news that was earlier than the Panthers, and I guess America's team. Because first of all, here's the wild fucking thing about the Dallas Cowboys. When we last recorded this podcast, the Jason Garrett had a job, and usually it takes like 2 podcasts before, like, after a coach gets fired, for us to know who the head coach is. It took Sunday during the wild card round. Like, we thought this was gonna be like, he's gonna be fired by like Friday, and that's why I was like, oh fuck, I need to like get the podcast out maybe sooner. But then it takes till Sunday for him to get fired, and they do it. They take care of business, and then Mike McCarthy is the head coach the next day. So it's like, all right, well, clearly
they were interviewing while Garrett still had the job.
My favorite thing was that someone was like, essentially, Mike McCarthy interviewed with the Cowboys, and then like walked downstairs while Jason Garrett was having breakfast at the table. Like he was very much like Garrett knew that this was happening, but he was really trying to keep his job, but it just didn't end up working out. What do you think about now having Mike McCarthy removed from the Packers situation, and now into which I know you hate both franchises, but you
Right.
know, with the McCarthy now with the Cowboys, do you think that this could work out for the Cowboys?
See, here's how I've been thinking. This is probably, honestly, I'm gonna just as frank as possible. This is my least favorite head coach hire.
Okay, why is that?
The reason McCarthy was let go was his unwillingness to like accept like the new NFL and like change things.
Mm-hmm.
And I know the story, or like what he said was that he was in a barn for the last year studying the new NFL.
Yeah.
So maybe
He's
that's
in a
true.
Barn.
He was in a barn studying,
with the cows.
looking at images of Patrick Mahomes, not even their plays, just Mahomes, Jackson, and Watson up there. Like, how can I get
Make
their
this.
essence?
Make this.
Make this. But it feels like, I don't know. He obviously has a lot of head coaching experience and can be and is the reason why the Packers won so much over the past decade. Minus the last 2 years, of course. But
Sure.
I don't, despite the head coaching experience, I don't know exactly what he is going to do. And I don't know what the like personnel on the Cowboys is going to be. Obviously, Zeke has the money. I don't know if Dak or Cooper are going to get the money, because if both, I just hit my desk. Sorry about that noise. Like, I predict if Dak and Cooper both get paid, especially as big as Zeke got paid, the Cowboys organization is going to crumble because they literally won't be able to pay any other players.
I don't even think it is feasible right now. I mean, I think
Yeah.
And I think there's an easy answer to it. I think it's keep Dak and let Cooper walk, because Amari Cooper was not doing much at the end of the year, and
that's what Cooper does all the time. He has monster performances, and then he doesn't do anything.
Yeah, exactly. Like, so do you want to even pay that at that point? So I think it's an easy decision for the Cowboys, but will they see that yet? I don't know.
It is Jerry Jones.
Right. Here's the thing about Jerry, and I didn't want to make this point last podcast, but I forgot about it. The one thing I have to give Jerry Jones credit is that we may question his football, his football mindset, and how he looks at his team and how he builds his team, and we compliment him at times for making smart, talent decisions, and then we definitely can deride him and say, like, oh my God, what are you thinking? One thing that he is absolutely a master of is keeping the Cowboys in the headlines no matter what. I think that he knew what he was doing by keeping Jason Garrett in the office for so long, because it wasn't just to be like, oh, we're going to keep him till his contract expired, because clearly that wasn't the case. He still got rid of him on Sunday. He kept it going so that way the media would keep on talking about the Cowboys, why they haven't let go of Jason Garrett, should Jason Garrett go, who are the Cowboy candidates. It's just constantly have them in the headlines. I mean, I know they would have been anyway if they fired Jason Garrett, but it was even the added story of them keeping him around, and then to fire him during the Eagles playoff game. It's just like, mwah, he's a master PR guy. And I mean, I look at this hire and I'm like, I think that what they said is that they want a guy who has done it before, an NFL head coach who's done it before. Like a McCarthy, he's done it before.
He's really the only candidate who has done it before.
Right, he in 2010, beat the Steelers, and won the championship with the Packers. Mm-hmm. I look at this though too, and I say, he has said he has changed, and he said, and there's a great article by Peter King, I think it was one of his Monday Night in America columns, which is pretty much all he writes at this point, where he talks about he talked to Mike McCarthy, and how McCarthy has said he's embracing analytics, he's embracing this new age, he's changed. So I look at it, I'm like, okay, well, if you have changed, then I like this hire, a guy who has experience and now is admitting that he's had to change. The question is, though, will he change? Because sometimes these guys are not self-aware enough to be like, oh, I've changed, and then they do the same fucking crap that they've done for years, because they win.
Yeah, that reason is kind of why I have my reservations about McCarthy.
Yeah,
and I don't know that, like, it's a good hire. but I don't think it's the like. It's not a. It's not like. I don't think it's like Matt Rule. I think the risk on Matt Rule is worth it.
Yeah, no, I think, I mean, he was the, I think the Matt Rule was the biggest, hottest coaching candidate in this cycle, and I think that the fact the Panthers landed him was great, but I think that ultimately, I think that they interviewed like two guys. I think the Cowboys, they interviewed him and Marvin Lewis. I mean, probably for the Rudy Rule.
That would have been hilarious
if it was Marvin Lewis.
if it was Marvin Lewis.
Well, look, I mean, Marvin Lewis, he had years of just like people shit on Marvin Lewis, and certainly there's a lot of reasons why Marvin Lewis, is on the streets now. But or I shouldn't say that. He's probably has a ton
that's a depressing way to look at
it. Yeah, no, he's probably has a shit ton of money, living in a fancy house and not having to worry too much. I mean, he's worked with Arizona State this year, so yeah, apologies, Marvin Lewis. But he's at this point, like, he was one of the main reasons why the Bengals ended up being taken out of like the shitty hole that they were in, and being consistent playoff contenders and being at least decent and relevant. And then we saw the moment where he left this year.
Being honest, that's the Cowboys' ultimate goal.
Yeah,
to be in the playoffs and not much more.
Yeah, well, right, and definitely
in that case, Marvin Lewis is the perfect coach.
Right, if that was the case. All right. You could introduce the Giants head coach. I'll let you do that. So
first. The Giants head coach is former Patriots special teams coordinator Joe Judge.
Mm-hmm.
I had my reservations at first. Obviously, there's some like, oh, it's the Patriots, and I don't think I know enough about him to do that for sure.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people are having the idea now that he's going to be the next Harbaugh because he was a special teams guy.
Mm-hmm. That's when.
What's your opinion on him?
So, all right, I mean, this has been a year in the making, because we kind of knew that Pat Shurmur was pretty much going to get fired this year because of the Giants. I all these predictions every single season, is like, oh, the Giants are going to win their division, and it's like, guys, come on. And then obviously,
have you seen the team play at all?
It's never, doesn't come together.
Do you have any defensive players?
We knew that that Pat Shurmur was pretty much gone, so this has been a year in the making. And if you were to say to me that the head coach that that the Giants got was a random guy that no one has really heard of until the Mississippi State fired their head coach, that's I would say, wow, the Giants are still sucking at their job. Here's the thing that I've learned though about Joe Judge, and it gives me at least a little bit of hope for this. He's been, you could say I know that everyone's gonna point to like, oh well, like you said, go Cubs. It's like, look at the Patriots. He worked with the Bill Belichick for close to a decade. I mean, it was about like 7 or 8 years that he's worked under the Patriots as a special teams assistant, and won all 3 Super Bowls as a special teams coordinator. So, or at least a special teams assistant for one of the Super Bowls. And you look at right before that, he worked with Nick Saban with Alabama, for 3 years. To have worked under 2 of the greatest coaches of this generation is pretty interesting and really cool.
Wait, Chris.
Say again.
Sorry, finish your thing. I just had a thought that I remembered.
No, yeah, but I just think with this hire though, I look at more what he has said thus far, and I look at his press conference, and the Giants fans that I know are eating up everything that was said at this press conference today. This hard-nosed, tough, and quote, punch them in the mouth for 60 minutes, or punch them in the nose, I apologize. Punch them in the nose for 60 minutes. He was delivering a speech that got all those conservative white guy Giants fans, like, rubbing their nipples, like, just completely erotic. Like, absolutely just, but I liked it in a way that, in the sense of, like, he seemed very passionate, and he seemed like he had a personality, unlike the last 2 guys. and he completely is throwing away this idea of like the offensive guru, and he's like being like, I'm just going to coach this team, and I'm going to try to surround ourselves with good coaching staff that teaches this guys, not doing anything crazy with it. And at this point, like, what is there to lose? They tried 2 times with offensive guys, and has not worked either time. Let's see what happens. I understand the comparison to John Harbaugh, because it is a different mindset going into a team, because you're not solely focused on the defense or solely focused on the offense. You're kind of encompassing an entire team, and when you're a special teams guy, you get to work with with players on both sides of the ball. So I don't mind the hire. I don't love it. Wish there was other guys. I think there's much more better candidates out there.
Eric Bieniemy.
But I'm okay with it for now, and we'll see how it plays out. What was your thought?
My first thought was when I first heard Joe Judge, I saw that it said Patriots wide receiver coach. It didn't mention the special teams.
Yes.
I was like, why would you hire the coach of the worst wide receiver core the Patriots have ever seen?
Yeah.
But then I saw special teams. I was like, oh, okay.
Yes.
My second thought was you mentioned Belichick and Saban, and my thought was neither of them are going to win the championship this year.
You just forgot about that. That sunk in like all of a sudden. Like, holy shit! No way. Yeah. No.
Because they've been alternating like the past 5 or 6 years.
Yeah. It's wild. We're gonna talk more about that in a little bit, but yeah, but I look at again like. While I do put that aside as to how I'm evaluating Joe Judge, I also look at it like, holy shit, this guy has worked under both Belichick and Saban. Like that's kind of wild to be able to have done that. Has any of your like mindset like kind of changed from the initial hire? Like, is it like a little bit better considering what people have been saying, or do you? Think I
want to see what happens.
Yeah, that's how that's the case with all these coaching hires. It's like we're gonna judge it right now, but it's like let's see how it plays out. I think the most important thing is I need to see this assistant staff. I need to see who the offensive coordinator is. I need to see the defensive coordinator. And the rumors of Jason Garrett being the Giants' offensive coordinator just makes me want to throw myself out the window. Don't need that in my life. But yeah, that's like the big thing that I'm waiting out on. But other than that, like, all right, I'm pretty happy with what I've seen. Oh, Freddie Kitchens was another offensive coordinator, which to be honest, I'll deal with Freddie as offensive coordinator more than Jason Garrett at this point. I know Freddie Kitchens shows his incompetence, but maybe that was just in the head coaching position.
I think that was head coach level. If he goes back to OC, he's gonna be great.
He'll be We'll see how it goes.
We talked about Washington hiring Rivera already.
Yes. Yep.
And then Cleveland is the only team that still needs a head coach.
Yep, and don't be surprised.
Kind of wait as long as they want.
Don't be surprised, and I'm just gonna put this out there. I have no basis for this. Don't be surprised if we get one more opening, because, and I mean specifically of teams that lose this weekend, because there has been precedent in the past. Broncos with John Fox, Titans with Mike Mularkey, where a head coach gets fired after the divisional round and be like, no, we're done.
I think the only one I can think of that would apply to in this group is Bill O'Brien.
I think Bill O'Brien, certainly. I could definitely see that. I also, and I've liked him, before, but I think that there is although they did end up coming out and they were like, we're gonna keep him no matter what, so maybe not, but I was gonna say Mike Zimmer. That was kind of thrown out there before, but it's I think it would be tough to get rid of him at this point after you kind of gave the vote of confidence, but it depends on how badly, if they do end up losing to the Niners, like how badly they lose though too. That might who knows, that might change mindsets, even warranted or not.
I think Zimmer will be okay.
Yeah, no, I
think Zimmer's going to be okay. If it's going to be anyone, it's going to be Bill O'Brien. That's my
right. So
that's my thought.
We'll see how it goes. Before we get to our next segment, I wanted to let you know about some research that I've been doing. The NFL, I always have seen the NFL as a very corrupt organization. and I wanted to look deep into the NFL. I wanted to find out, what they really do behind the scenes. And as a journalist, if that's surprising to find out, I am a journalist. I do journalism things. Okay. I dig deep into the financials of the NFL because they do have to present something. They do have to show at least a little bit about what they have going on in the NFL, like a little bit about like the thing, like they have like those board meetings where they have to like as like meetings and shit where they have to put out the what they have going on. And all of a sudden I looked at one total that shocked me, and it was billions of dollars, this one line, and it just said AR, and I was like, what is that? And so I did some digging, and I was just like, okay, what is it? What is AR? What does that mean? And I looked, and I had to go deep. I went into the dark web, Go Cubs, all right? I went deep into the dark web, and I found an alternative reality. Little do we know with the NFL that they run a second league. And it turns out that it is an alternative reality. That they have the teams that suck this year playing in the playoffs this year. And I got some results for you about how that playoff has turned out thus far. All right?
I wish podcasts had some sort of visual aspect because my facial expression is doing every reaction I could give right now. I'm going to turn on my camera so you can see it, even though the podcasting public can't. But go on. The listeners.
So in this reality that the only thing is that I have to crack into it a little bit better for next week's podcast, that the scores were not I was not able to record the final scores, but I was able to witness it. I was able to witness it in what kind of looked like Madden NFL 20. That's how I was kind of looking at it. But it was real. It was an alternative reality. And so I started out with the Jacksonville Jaguars hosting the Cleveland Browns. And Nick Chubb ran for over 200 yards to basically put away the Jaguars and move on, and they're going to be playing the Bengals next week as the number 1 seed. That's going to be the divisional round in this alternative reality.
Yeah.
Then, after that, we had in prime time the Los Angeles Chargers hosting the New York Jets.
Ooh.
And I if I had to put money down, I would like, okay, Jets seem like they at the end of the day they seemed more confident down the stretch. They actually had a winning record in the last half of the year. That might be the team that wins. Chargers blew out the Jets.
Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that much.
Okay.
Especially if it looks like Madden 20, that doesnst surprise me.
Yeah, no, that's true. And the Chargers, so the Chargers moved on and will be playing against the Miami Dolphins, who are the number 2 seed. I should say that the first matchup was the 4-5, Jacksonville Jaguars being the 4, Cleveland Browns being the 5, and the 6 seed New York Jets went to the 3 seed Los Angeles Chargers. Then, at 1 o'clock, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers at the 6th seed went to Carolina to take care of to face the Panthers, and I was stunned. For the first half of the game, the Panthers were up like 20-0. It was wild. They were just taking it to the Buccaneers, and then the Buccaneers came back, and Jameis Winston, Chris Godwin, and Mike Evans for some reason were healthy in this alternative reality. I guess that happens, and
alternative reality must have forgotten to update.
Yeah, no, they did. I mean, Kyle Allen was starting at quarterback too, so it's very weird. And the Buccaneers, they took away the victory and they faced the number 1 seeded Redskins next weekend. And then finally, the New York Football Giants go to Arizona, take on the Cardinals.
Okay.
And the Giants, with that stout defense, took down the Arizona Cardinals.
Wow. I'm surprised.
And the Giants will go to the number 2 seeded Detroit Lions next week. And that will be the first game of divisional round weekend in this alternative reality. I'm going to do a little bit more hacking. You know, a little bit more dark web stuff to make sure I get better scores and give you a better layout of the land. I think the first time I did this, I was kind of sleeping on the job while going through this and really watching this and taking this in, this dark reality. I think maybe I was just in shock about what I was witnessing. But This time I'm in a new reality right now, and I'll keep you guys posted on this reverse playoffs as we head to an alternative Super Bowl 54 in Miami.
Do you think Miami's going to have the first home Super Bowl in this AR?
That is on the table. That is on the table for this Miami Dolphins. Ryan Fitzpatrick could be legendary in this playoffs.
Ryan Fitzpatrick already is legendary.
Yeah,
Shut your mouth.
He could be even more legendary. Like there's an alternative reality where Ryan Fitzpatrick has the chance to be even more legendary. Like that's a hard feat to face. And the science of this whole thing, I don't know how it's possible. I really, I want to dig even more deep into how the NFL is dealing with this stuff. We're wondering where all the money is going that they're pocketing.
Yeah, really.
Anyways, let's move on. You're
pretty pleased with yourself, aren't you?
I am. Because you know what? I worked. It was a lot of work sitting in front of my computer and trying to set up the portal through Origin and installing the game to see into this dark world, Madden, and it came out. It worked out just fine. All right.
Okay.
Don't judge me. We figured with the divisional round that with 4 games remaining, it would be fitting to do a mascot showdown one last time with the 4 matchups that are remaining in place. The last 8 teams. So before we get to actually talk about what the football product's going to be, let's talk about what it would be like if they were mascots. But of course, the twist is that they're not going to necessarily be fighting or playing football. They're going to be doing other things. And with the help of super fights, or what's it called? The challenges pack, the challenge deck for super fight. We are able to decide what these mascots would be doing and who would win. So describe this first matchup for us, or in terms of what it is, the first matchup of the playoff.
It's Niners Vikings, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we have ourselves a gold miner, like 1849 style gold miner. Think like prospector type person, with a hat. And let's say that he has his mining tools at his disposal. Meanwhile, the Viking, very, very big, very strong. It's got the ponytails, of course.
It's the ponytails.
And even though,
yes, you're right. Yeah. I thought you meant the horns for some reason. I was just like, those are not ponytails.
And even though actual Vikings didn't have horns on their helmets, this one does.
Yeah,
and he has one axe as his weapon.
Pretty much.
All right. To decide who is going to vouch for who, I just have a coin. Chris, call out heads or tails, and if you get it right, you get to choose. If you get it wrong, I get to choose.
Okay.
Who to defend? All right. So what's your call?
Go tails.
It is. That is a tails. Who would you like to Vouch for.
I don't know. I see this is like the obvious pick is the Viking, but I don't know what we're dealing with. I'm gonna go with the Viking in this. I'll go with the Viking in this sense.
All right, I'll go with the gold miner.
Okay. And the battle between the Viking and the gold miner is sumo wrestling.
Okay.
So, since I guess you can start with.
Okay, so the gold miner would win at sumo wrestling because like the goal of sumo wrestling is to just get your opponent outside of the ring. That is literally the goal. It is the like most basic sport possible.
Mm-hmm.
So the gold miner just needs to get the Viking outside of the ring, and there's a bit of a strategy in like in sumo wrestling that maybe you could use your foe's weight against them.
Okay.
The Viking is going to be larger than the gold miner, but the gold miner is gonna have some other tools. If you look at the if you look at I'm gonna cite The Legend of Zelda: Twilight Princess, in which there is a sumo wrestling mechanic where Link has to wrestle the mighty Gorons. And the way that Link gets around that is he uses iron boots. The gold miner, who is proficient in metals, will come into this battle with the boots that he has mined and made into boots.
Okay.
And be able to use those to stay stout against the Viking and get him out of the ring.
I mean, I think that's great to have the iron boots to keep the balance and all, but you're talking about a Viking. I mean, I just don't think a gold miner is going to be just strong enough in order to just. I mean, he may stay in the battle, like endurance certainly, and maybe be able to endure a little bit of the Vikings' attacks, but I think sooner or later, I think a gold miner just. Even if you put like your strongest gold miner on the mat, you know, a Viking is just a different breed. A Viking has just gone through so much more adversity, and just to do hand-on-hand combat, hand-on-hand, like just pushing and trying to get them out of the ring. I think they could do that for breakfast, as they just wake up, sleepy time, get up and knock a guy out of a circle. I think that they could do that with one foul swoop. And I think the Viking could be able to sustain themselves in that position with their weight as well. So that is my argument for.
But is the Viking as rootin' and tootin' as the 49ers?
Do you think they're going to be tooting the absolute rootin'?
He's the rootin'est, tootin'est cowboy in the Wild Wild West.
Man, you know what? That's fair. I would concede on that notion. I don't think it's very rude to it at all. All right, next up, what's the mascot matchup look like?
And next up is the Titans and Ravens. So we have Ravens the bird, and then we have Titans, the literal like ancestors to the Greek gods.
That's true. We didn't really decide on what we would see there.
All right, so let's use for the Titans. Let's use the father of Zeus, Kronos, as an example. Okay. You know what? No, Kronos is too powerful because he has the power to mess with time.
Okay.
Let's go with Atlas, who is strong enough to like hold the planet up on him, and it's kind of like a punishment. So he's kind of like a lesser Titan, but still a Titan. Like he's got that strength, but he's still like being punished. So we'll do Atlas versus a literal Raven. All right, heads or tails?
Okay. I gotta stick with tails.
This time it was heads.
Okay.
I still don't know what the challenge is going to be. But I want to pick the bigger one this time, so I'm gonna go with Titans.
Yeah, that's fair. It's completely fair. It's a rap battle.
Damn it!
I'll start first, to be fair.
No. Okay, go ahead.
No, because I feel like I would need more time to talk about it with I need to think about it with a Raven, but I think it's only fair for me to go first, just because.
Here's the problem. I absolutely know what to do for the Raven.
Yeah. That's true. You should have chosen the Raven in that sense. But
Yeah, I guess so. Fuck me.
I honestly don't know. I think that the Raven. The thing is, when you think about the Raven, and I don't know. I'm going to make an Edgar Allan Poe tie-in here, but I'm like, I feel like a Raven would channel the poetry of the man who praised the Raven, and I feel like the Ravens would be able to drop those sick beats on this tall Titan that probably could not, as strong as they are, may not be able to put together the most beautiful set of lyrics. And I think the Raven will completely shut them down, and just drop some rhymes on them. I really don't have much for the Raven outside of that.
That was literally going to be my argument.
Yeah, I think I like, look, just channel the great Edgar Allan Poe, which I know he's not a rapper, but at the end of the day, that sweet poetry coming from channeling that poetry, turn it into rapping, and the Ravens will do it.
Quote the Raven, nevermore.
Yes.
So for the Titan, he's got rap. Rap is a genre that comes from a place of hardship. And this Titan, Atlas in particular, has been holding the world on his shoulders for centuries. Like, that's like his punishment. He is being put down by the man, and he has the real life experience that a lot of rappers have in being put down by the man, that he could bring to promoting and spitting rhymes and bringing this experience to his rap songs. That's pretty much all I got.
Yeah, I was initially, as you were speaking, I was trying to see if there has been an epic rap battle of history of Atlas. Did not see that. I don't know if they have done a Raven. I doubt they've done a singular Raven one, but they have done Edgar Allan Poe in the rap battle.
They would have had to.
They did that versus Stephen King, apparently. So I was just curious on that. Maybe go through ahead. All right. Next up, what's the next two mascot matchups?
All right, our next matchup is the Texans versus the Chiefs, and in this one we're gonna do like a bull, like male cow, a bull, versus the Chiefs rather than like a Native American person. We're gonna do the Chiefs' actual like physical costumed mascot, which is a wolf.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, heads or tails?
Sticking with tails. See how long this works for me.
This one is tails.
Okay. I will take. I've argued bull before, so let me do wolf.
Okay, I will take bull.
Okay.
And what's our matchup?
The matchup is best James Bond substitute. I feel like we've done something like this before. I think we did like in a sense of like
I think we've done like Secret Agent.
Yes, that's what I was about to say.
Yeah.
Like, I think we did Secret Agent.
We should do a different one.
Different one? Okay.
Yeah.
Cheerleading competition.
Okay.
You start.
I'll go first. Okay, so every cheer squad needs like one larger member, especially if you have like the one guy on the team, like to help lift the rest of their team up. He may not be doing the most athletic moves, but the bull in this case is helping out the rest of their team. In addition, when that larger part of the team does do something cool, everyone flips their shit because they don't expect it. They expect all the small ones to like go and do the jumping jacks and stuff. But when the big one does it, it's like, whoa, where'd that come from? And the horns, I don't know, you can put pom-poms on them. That's my argument.
Are we allowed to? Are we? Do we have to specifically talk about the animal, or can we talk about the actual mascot?
I guess you could do the actual mascot. I was doing it like with the animal in mind, just
Yeah,
based on things in the past. But if you want to do the actual mascot, you can.
I'll argue both. I'll
Okay.
just start. I'll just say Casey Wolf does it for a living. All right, he just does.
True.
He's just that he's cheerleaders through and through. But to be fair to the argument, I'll talk about what a wolf does. I think about wolves is that they lead. You know, they lead in when times are tough, and when you're in a football game or in sports, you know, sometimes those cheerleaders, their purpose is to get the crowd going and get them, you know, in a good spirits. And I just think the Wolves, I think that they would be able to rally a crowd. And now, in terms of a competition between cheerleaders, I think that passion would come through, and I think that through wolves generally, when they are in a pack, they are in formations all the time. They know formations through and through, and I think I think at the end of the day, I think that wolves would be able to not only technically win a cheerleading contest, but also win the hearts of America through and through.
All right.
That's the argument.
Okay. And Seahawks Packers. Seahawks is the bird itself. The Packers is a like a cheese monster.
Can we just have it be just cheese?
Just cheese.
Just not even make it a monster. Just make it cheese. Just pack cheese.
Or we could do just like a person wearing a cheese head.
I guess. I mean, either way,
Cheese would be funny, though.
we can interpret it how we think maybe best fit for this competition. I think we know what we both would choose in this battle.
Yep.
Tails again, of course.
Tails again. It is heads. I'm actually gonna go with the cheese monster.
All right, cool. Yeah, well, it's a good challenge. All right, so I'll take the Seahawk. What does this even mean? Oh no, I get it now. Fastest lumberjack.
Fastest lumberjack. Okay.
Fastest lumberjack.
All right. Well, I've only started once, so.
Yeah.
You've only started once. You go.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
The Seahawks can channel their inner woodpecker with their beaks, and I think, especially in a foresty area like Seattle, or not Seattle, but like the northwestern area. Yeah. I think that they're used to seeing these trees, and they're used to, you know, dealing with them. I mean, if I'm being honest, I don't know what the natural aspects of a Seahawk is.
Probably the sea.
Probably the sea. That would make a lot of sense. But I'm sure that they would love nothing but to get rid of any trees that were in their way from the sea. And I think I look up a Seahawk, and I'm trying to, I know that a Seahawk is like, it's not really a real thing, a Seahawk, right? Like, there's birds that are like considered like sea birds and like sea hawks in that sense, but like they aren't like, I don't know, like I can't. That's why I'm trying to think.
Seahawk is like an osprey is like a type of Seahawk.
Osprey, okay.
Yeah. Seahawk is also the name of a character from She-Ra and the Princesses of Power, which is an excellent show.
Okay.
Yeah.
There you go. But yeah, they I'm trying to think. They have. I'm trying to look at. They have a diet.
What does that have to do with lumberjack?
I know, I'm just right now. I'm on the behavior and ecology Wikipedia page, and then that's the first header I saw, and so I started listing them, and I just trying to find any sort of like, do they do things with trees at all? Why don't you go? I think I'm good. I think I'm done with this argument.
Okay. Well, when you leave cheese outside or like in like just out of a fridge for a while, it gets really pungent. And when the cheese monster gets in your cheese, it's just gonna like not melt, but like ooze and like morph itself around the base of the trees, and then that pungentness is just gonna like eat away at the bottoms, and the trees are gonna fall.
What is this weird? We're creating I mean, I know that this is basically the game, but it's like we're creating a different, completely reality where this cheese monster is in existence. Like,
Listen,
what is
the Packers don't give us enough to work with on what their mascot actually fucking is. So we need to take creative liberties to make some sense out of this god-awful state.
This is what happens when you don't have an owner. You lose control of what your mascot truly is.
You lose control.
And it just becomes cheese.
It's just Chris Lambeau's just in the middle of the fucking neighborhood. It's just there. Like, there's a house, and then like across your, like, literally there are just like houses, and on the other side of the street is fucking Lambeau Field parking lot. It's just a neighborhood. Fuck Wisconsin.
So far, I am still looking at the Osprey, page, and I still have not found anything related to trees or anything. So this is just a bad matchup. I think this is just a bad, like, I just don't. There's neither situation I don't think can really best fit a lumberjack.
I made a pretty good argument for cheese.
For the cheese monster. Yes, for this fictionalized cheese monster that I believe should become the mascot.
At this point, there's no reason for it not to be.
we have created a fictionalized cheese monster. At this, what? We need to enlist Matt Walsh, and we need to get him to create a sketch of the cheese monster, and then we need to present it to Green Bay. And
I think that's the most logical situation.
We need to make sure that this becomes the mascot.
Do you remember fuck Butch Hartman? But do you remember Danny Phantom? There's that one guy who was like obsessed with the Green Bay Packers and was extremely rich, and part of his like character was that he wanted to buy the Green Bay Packers but couldn't because the city wouldn't sell it to him.
I had no idea about the storyline. No.
Yeah, it's like the like Vlad, like Uncle Vlad.
Okay.
Danny's dad's friend from college who he turned into a ghost by mistake.
I feel like that's like a recurring theme with Butch Hartman. Yeah, fuck Butch Hartman, but that's a recurring theme in Butch Hartman cartoons where you have also like the Doug Dimmadome of Fairly Odd Parents, of a guy that basically I think owns a football team. He acts like he owns a football team. I think
he owns the basketball team.
He owns a basketball team. Yeah,
which is fucked up in its own right. That episode. Because the episode itself is the premise that, okay, Timmy joins the basketball team and like uses his wish to like become like a really good basketball player, like a really tall guy. All of his shots go in, but then he finds out that his powers, like the wish, doesn't work within the last 2 minutes because, and I quote, everyone knows the last 2 minutes are the most competitive part of a basketball game, and the rules don't let you use wishes to win competition. But what about the rest of the fucking basketball game that is still a competition?
It's just he just took an opportunity to just take pot shots at the game of basketball. Like, it's not a sport until the last 2 minutes.
That was the same episode that had like the blubber nuggets. And then it's like, they're chewy. It's a disaster of an episode.
Because they were like, it was like the Alaskan basketball team for whatever reason.
Yeah, they were going to sell the team and move to Alaska.
Because, you know what? Not necessarily too far off from reality, unfortunately, in terms of the just moving and picking them up to go to random places at this point.
Yeah,
right.
it's more the fucking rules bullshit.
All right, it is time, divisional round picks, and Two different realities for us after our picks. You went 3-1, did very well. I went 1-3. The AFC South ran very well through the playoffs. Texans won a wild game.
I'm so happy for you because your curse is broken.
Yes, the Texans won a wild game, and the Titans toppled the dynasty. And you know, like, you felt like the day was coming. You felt like it was coming around the corner, but it was just not there yet. It was just it always felt like just out of reach. But finally, Derrick Henry extended his hand and basically the rest of his beefy body and ran through you and making you realize, oh, hell no, the Patriots are done. And for the first time, I think, in podcast history, this is the first year of the Virtual Ball Boys, but going back to when we did the MMG podcast, this is the first time in podcast history that we will not be talking about the Patriots in the divisional round, in conference championship, or the Super Bowl. And it is... Mwah, it's beautiful. It's a beautiful reality. The other game, we both got wrong the Vikings. They came out and toppled the Saints and in heartbreaking fashion. And then, of course, the Seahawks took care of business against the Eagles. And we now turn the page to the divisional round. Kick us off. Now give us the preview of Vikings 49ers, Mr. Matt.
All right, so we have the Vikings and the 49ers. The Vikings coming off of their overtime win against the Saints. With another, call that should have been reviewed, but it really didn't matter that much. But now we know that the overtime rules are going to get changed since the Saints lost the game.
Basically.
Kidding, of course, but it could happen. Anyway, they go to the Bay Area to face the 49ers, who were the number 1 overall seed in the NFC. Have been great on offense and defense. Kirk Cousins finally got his stuff together in Minnesota. We haven't seen the 49ers in a while, so anything could still happen, but the 49ers are still, I think, the favorite to win. Definitely the favorite to win. What do you think is going to happen in this matchup?
If we want to do just a quick version of our offense-defense kind of previews, I mean, you look at the Niners' offense, and they have been Garoppolo has been really good in terms of basically spreading out the field with his throws and not doing as much like deep throws and not doing as much checkdowns, but doing a lot of midfield work and really taking care of business in that sense. But of course, the 49ers are also have a very good running game as well.
Because it's Kyle Shanahan.
And because Kyle Shanahan he continues to prove that he's one of the best offensive play callers as well out there. And as terms of the Vikings offense, what they did last week, Dalvin Cook looked healthy again. He really had a pretty good day and a really good game against the Saints. And he's going to help to replicate it against a Niners team that has not been good against the run this year. And of course, there's also the Kirk Cousins finally getting over his demons, finally winning the big game. He has to see if he can do it again. He might be without Adam Thielen, who is dealing with a slash of his ankle, which is very weird. That happened during practice. So that's concerning. What about the defenses in this matchup?
The defenses, 49ers come in with a lot of very strong weapons with Richard Sherman and Dee Ford, who I think is questionable. Nick Bosa, the rookie sensation, and have been really dominant in a lot of places. Obviously not against the run, but have done what they need to do in a lot of situations. The Vikings were able to shut down the Saints not shut down, but prevent them from reaching their high scoring the high scoring ways they've been going throughout the season. Yeah. So it's going to be it is going to be like another battle of two really good defenses, but I think the 49ers have the edge here.
Yeah, I completely forgot about which roles we took, and I took the offenses. I apologize.
Yep,
Well, I'll change
good.
I'll change that for the next matchup. But yeah, Everson
Yeah.
Griffin and Daniel Hunter deserve a lot of credit. They really made Drew Brees' day miserable. And Tyson Hill looked like the best quarterback on the Saints during that game, which is not a good sign if you want to move on to the next round. And of course, they did not. I'm taking the Niners. I think that it's just this is the top seed that the top NFC seed that we've been watching this entire game, this entire season. We've had our moments where we're like, maybe they'll lose this match, maybe they'll lose, but they keep on winning these games. And they've also played a lot of tight games too, so there's no ruling out the Vikings in this matchup. I think it's gonna be a good game, but I think the Niners take care of business.
I do too. Now that the Saints are gone, I need a new Super Bowl pick. And as cheesy as it would be for the two number one seeds to make it, I have a lot of confidence in this 49ers team, especially with Garoppolo, the running game, and George Kittle on the offense.
Yeah, see, this is why you do the offensive thing. Did they ever bring up the most dominant football offensive player of the year, George Kittle?
Yeah, I am. I know it's totally because of fantasy football, but I do much better at offenses.
So then we agree on that. Let's move to the primetime game here. The Ravens take on the Titans. The first person I think of always is Steve McNair, who played for both of these franchises. It's an old AFC Central rivalry as well. These two teams used to be in the same division, whether it be the Houston Oilers or they were not the Houston Oilers at that point. The Tennessee Titans. They were always the Tennessee Titans with the Ravens. I don't know why I thought that for a second. The old AFC Central rivalries. But it's interesting. It's an interesting game because the Titans they were slower last week, but they really leaned on Derrick Henry to win that game. This week, who knows what they'll bring to the table on that side. But with the Ravens, they're coming off of the best season that they've ever had, with Lamar Jackson ruling the day and a defense that is ready to step up. What do you think about the defenses or the offenses in this matchup?
I'm going to do the offenses.
Yeah, sorry. Okay. Stop me again.
So
offenses.
With the Ravens offense, you obviously have the if he's not MVP, there will be riots. Lamar Jackson.
Yeah.
Who not just carries this offense, is redefining how a lot of teams see football. We came into the playoffs last year, and we were so sure that the Ravens were we both had Ravens in the Super Bowl last year. When we were coming in, looking at the just being no one can stop the Ravens, and then the Chargers figured out how to stop the Ravens. This ain't that Ravens team. Lamar Jackson is a great passer. He has a ton, a surprising amount of weapons on wide receiver and especially in tight ends. And the only downside about this Ravens offense is that they might not have Mark Ingram, but their backups aren't that bad. Gus Edwards and maybe Justice Hill will be able to get the job done. And you have the rushingest quarterback ever in this matchup as well.
Yeah.
On the Titans side, you have Ryan Tannehill, who didn't do much against New England, but that wasn't the game plan, was to do anything against New England. Tannehill has been one of the best passers in the league since the halfway point. And you have Derrick Henry, who is the rushing king, and who demolished the Patriots with his legs. Somebody's job is going to have to be to tackle Derrick Henry, and I don't want to be that person. You also have A.J. Brown, a great wide receiver, Jonnu Smith, tight end, who will be a good supporting cast for Tannehill, but the focal point of this offense is going to be Derrick Henry in this matchup.
Absolutely. And I look at the defense for the Ravens, and this is a team that has been the best defense in football for the last 7 weeks of the season. And it starts with the secondary, and getting Marcus Peters was a big deal. They really did wonders for them. And he's been probably their best defensive player since he came over, and that's saying
Mm-hmm.
something on a team that I believe had like 4 or 5 defensive players at least make the Pro Bowl.
Absolutely.
And the secondary as a whole is pretty good. Marlon Humphrey also had an excellent year. But I think also, like, they don't sack a lot of quarterbacks, but they certainly are able to get pressure, and they certainly have been able to really wreak havoc. Matt Judon, certainly one of the big names to stand out. I think another one, Brandon Williams. Like, a lot of these guys that are up front, Tyus Bowser, who's not a starter, but he's been with a lot of plays. Chris Wormley. Like, a lot of these guys are just, they absolutely are amongst those that just kick ass repeatedly. Oh, and of course, Patrick I never pronounce his last name well, but it's like Patrick Onwusar. I don't know.
I do not know.
Yeah, that's another guy as well. But there's plenty of defensive players that play really well for this team. With the Titans, it's not been this story in the second half. Like, they started out being a defensive team, but they've not played well in the second half of the year. A lot of it is because of the injuries, especially to the secondary. It helped getting Adoree Jackson back last week. Helped it a lot in that situation. But there was a huge drop-off when he was injured, but now he's back. But the pass rush, there's just a lack of pass rush with this team that is concerning, even though you do have guys like Jarrell Casey up front and a few other guys, Harold Landry as well. So, those guys play well, but it's just has not been enough for them to generate a pass rush. So that's where I think the mismatch is, especially going against Lamar Jackson and the Ravens and how powerful they've been. So who do you think is going to win this game?
I think that the Ravens actually got kind of a bad draw with getting the Titans out of any team in the wild card round. I think the Titans are the ones that pose them the biggest threat. But the Ravens are just so dominant that I don't think it's going to matter. You use the analogy a lot that of like which part when both teams are bad, which part do I trust the most?
Yeah.
In this case, it's kind of like the opposite. Like, both these teams are really good. Which do I trust the least? And it's the Titans' defense,
right?
Which Lamar Jackson, even without Mark Ingram, is going to exploit. And the tight ends are going to have a fun day, as they always do with Lamar Jackson throwing to them. Lamar Jackson's going to have a good day. The Ravens are going to win this.
Ryan Tannehill, I don't think he even played that bad of a game last week. It was just that he was not really used a lot.
No, he only had like 13 pass attempts. That doesn't mean he played bad.
Yeah, no, people were trying to say that, which is like, I understand the guy. People want to get that mediocre stereotype back on the guy, but whatever. But they're gonna have to compete in a shootout, and it's just gonna be hard to do that against a dominant defense like this with the Ravens. So I could see where this game ends. 3 score, the Ravens up 3 scores. But which is a shame, because I think the Titans are good enough where they could compete with anyone, and they certainly can. This could be a competitive game, but I just think the Ravens, I think they'll get it done. I could see where the Ravens are rusty, that they might get some missteps, but I'm too confident in the Ravens that they will lose this game. So
if anything, the Ravens needed rest.
Yes, absolutely.
So this will be great for them.
Yep, definitely. All right, what's
our next matchup is the Texans and Chiefs. Texans coming off of a 16-point comeback in the fourth quarter to force it to overtime, and some miracle-level play by Deshaun Watson, let's be honest. Take on the Chiefs, who were the huge talk last year, but then Lamar Jackson happened this year, and it's like they didn't exist. But they're still the number 2 seed, and the Patriots aren't, so that's fun. Chiefs still have a great offense. Their secondary especially has gotten so much better with the addition of Tyrann Mathieu. Meanwhile, the Texans, J.J. Watt played great in the game. He is back, and it's going to be an interesting matchup. How do you think the defenses stack up as a whole in this matchup?
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
I kind of touched on a couple things, but
no, it's totally fine. I think the thing about the Chiefs, and you could look at their opponents in the last few weeks and be like, all right, well, they had like a relatively easier schedule down the stretch where they were able to really just take care of them and maybe increase how they look. But really, this Chiefs team, when we used to begin to write them off after the Titans loss, at least I certainly did, where I was like, well, this team lacks a defense. I don't see them making a deep run into January. All of a sudden, in the last few weeks, they've become one of the top defensive teams in the league. And they've played so well on that side of the ball, and it's kind of nuts to say that, because it's like, I don't know. Like, I just had, this is not a team. This team is Patrick Mahomes is, and he's the one to lead the team to victory. But even if God forbid, like, Patrick Mahomes has like a tough day, I really think that this defense might be able to step up in these situations. And yes, it starts with Tyrann Mathieu. It starts with a very strong secondary as a whole. They lost on Thornhill to injury, but I think that they're going to be able to overcome that because their secondary group is just so deep. But it had been the front seven that was giving them issues, but then you got guys like Anthony Hitchens, Damian Wilson. You have guys like Chris Jones and Frank Clark, who that these guys are really making it hard on offenses to move the ball and keep it going. And so I think that's going to be a big help for them. The Texans, on the other hand, they have J.J. Watt back, and he looked all right. I think there was a lot of hype around him. But he was trying to get pressure on a few times. He did get a sack. He did get, he was definitely in the field. But I just look at the rest of this Texans defense, and I just don't know overall how sustainable it's going to be for this Texans team defensively to keep Patrick Mahomes, out of it. I mean, they did it early on in the season, but like they just have had one of the worst defenses in the league, since the midpoint, and it's Deshaun Watson and those guys have had to carry it. The offenses, I think, are going to be the main focus of this matchup. So let's talk about that.
So in the AFC playoffs right now, we have like the three Pro Bowl quarterbacks of the future in Jackson, Mahomes, and Watson, and then Tannehill.
Yeah,
but Tannehill's gonna do good. I'd team Tannehill all the way, but that's not this matchup. Watson versus Mahomes is like it's Bears fans' worst nightmare.
Yeah.
But it's also going to be a great offensive matchup between two really great quarterbacks who have been really athletic and doing really well the past 2 years. That being said, it's also about the pieces around them. Each of them has a very talented stud wide receiver one in Hopkins and Hill. Mahomes also has Travis Kelce. Watson doesn't have a tight end of that caliber. And then the running backs are like very committee and definitely not the like strongest part of the team. But they both have all had their moments. So on Kansas City, the key players being Mahomes, Hill, any number of other wide receivers between Watkins, Mecole Hardman, maybe Brian Pringle. It's weird. And then Travis Kelce. Where on the Texans side, it's the Watson Hopkins show with Carlos Hyde and Duke Johnson. Maybe Will Fuller will be back. Kenny Stills had a lot of good plays, but yeah, the wide receiver 2, or I guess 3 if you count Kelce in Kansas City case, is going to be important in terms of how this passing game goes.
Yeah.
And maybe even how the quarterbacks use their legs.
Yeah.
I don't know who I would give the edge to. I think the Chiefs, just because I think that all the pieces in Kansas City are better than the pieces in Houston, but it's minimal.
Yeah. What do you think? Who do you think is going to win?
I'm going to go with the Chiefs.
Okay.
Texans have played really well. I love Watson a lot, and I think Watson's been playing like I really think he has been playing super well. But Chiefs in Arrowhead, they broke the curse last year. I have a lot of faith in Mahomes and his supporting pieces and the defense.
Yeah.
Over Houston.
I love Deshaun Watson. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I could see where this game is a blowout in the favor of the Chiefs, and I certainly don't want that to happen, but it is just how poorly the Texans were playing, and they certainly they got better near the end of the game against the Bills, but a lot of that was the Bills shooting themselves in the foot as well.
Yes.
And I don't trust this defense to be able to stop Mahomes and all the weapons that they have. And I do think that there is a limit to the Texans offense compared to the Chiefs, where I just think anything is possible. I have a lot of, like, if we were still doing like the guarantee stuff, I would guarantee the Chiefs right now. But I mean, that also is, who knows, because I could also be completely wrong when the game happens and then the Texans pull off the win. But I'm not liking this matchup for the Texans. I think either matchup that they were going to go for the division round, I think it was going to be a tough one.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think this is they probably will have a worse time with the Ravens, so it's good that they got the Kansas City, but it's going to be tough for them, I think. So the Chiefs as well.
All right, so we're on the same page so far.
And we move forward into Seahawks at the Packers. The Seahawks are coming off of that it was very boring, even though it was a one-score game, a very boring game compared to everything else that happened on Wild Card Weekend. But they move on, and they take on the Packers in the playoffs for the first time since the 2014 NFC Championship game, which I still consider my favorite game of all time. The first time they're playing each other since that game, in the playoffs at least. And it's a battle between Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. That's the fun aspect of this whole matchup. But I think there's also, how, compared to what the NFC Championship game was, these teams are a lot more depleted and not as exciting, I don't think, compared to those two teams that played in the NFC Championship game. But let's talk about the offense. What do you got for them?
So, on the offense, on the Packers side, we have two Aarons in Rodgers and Jones. Aaron Rodgers obviously can turn on the gas whenever he needs to, but he hasn't had to a lot this season. Meanwhile, Aaron Jones tied for most touchdowns by running backs this year, I think, with Chris McCaffrey. And the offense has kind of been running through him this year, it's felt like. They also have Jamal Williams, who is good as a backup and can come in when he needs to. Devonta Adams at wide receiver. And Jimmy Graham at tight end. Meanwhile, on the Seahawks side, we have Russell Wilson, who was an MVP candidate, kind of fell off towards the end of the season, but still playing well. Along with Tyler Lockett and emerging rookie DK Metcalf at wide receiver. Marshawn Lynch at running back, along with, I forget his first name, but Homer's the last name, rookie, and Robert Turbin, to kind of patch together their running back core from their top four options ending their season with injury.
Yeah.
So, a little bit weird, a little bit lopsided, but still effective when it needs to be.
Yeah, the DK Metcalf, it should be said that he was the most dominant player on the field, it felt like.
Absolutely.
In the Seahawks Eagles game.
They all looked at a picture of him from the combine before.
Yeah. Yeah, it was amazing how much he was considered this bust and how he's just proving people wrong. And it was like, it's wild that he had such a strong combine, people had him high, and then all of a sudden, like, this, I don't know, weird rumors started coming out about him, like him just not being a good enough player, it's not going to work in the NFL, and that.
And Chris Collinsworth mentioned so many times how he had DK Metcalf going in the draft.
Yeah, it was very, very strange. In terms of the defenses in this matchup, it's very interesting with the Packers because they have turned it on a little bit near the end of the year. Kind of. I mean, the thing about the Packers, and we've talked about this, but it just hasn't been like an amazing season for them, which is crazy to say because they're 13-3, but they were just kind of like weirdly, in close games with the Redskins and Lions. Like it's very just like near the end. Like I was like, what's happening here?
The Packers almost lost that Lions game that would have guaranteed them a bye.
Yeah. Right. So I look at the Packers defense though, and that's their strength, and it really starts with the two linebackers, Zadarius Smith, Preston Smith, the two Smiths. I mean, they've been playing out of their minds really well. The secondary could be playing better. I mean, which has always been a serious issue. But in terms of the defensive line, Kenny Clark has really emerged as like an underrated guy that just continues to get pressure on opposing teams. So there's something reassuring about the Packers defense that they've really been playing well. And in terms of the Seahawks, this is a team consistently that back when in 2013 they were this dominant defense, and every year since then people keep on saying, oh well, they always have the defense, but this year for the Seahawks it's been kind of not great. I mean, they have their players, they have some outstanding players, obviously the linebacker duo Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright. You do have some solid players like Shaquille Griffin in the secondary. You do have guys like Poona Ford on the defensive line. And of course, Jadeveon Clowney, that big trade that happened. When he's healthy, he's playing well. But they're giving up a lot of points, a lot. And it's not that like they have lost control of games at times because of teams putting it on them. On the offensive side, so that would be my concern for the Seahawks right now, on that side of the ball. What do you think? All right, I guess I would be the one that does the pick first here.
Yeah, go ahead.
I thought about it, and I really, this is I think this is the closest game of the week, and I think it's the toughest game to pick. I think that the Seahawks win it. I think they take care of business. I love Russell Wilson, and there's just something about that. I think there's always seems to be at least like one wildcard team that's like gets to the championship. I think that I think that the Seahawks are the team, and they are injured big time. They are dealing with a lot of injuries, and that certainly could be their downfall in this game. But I feel like in a constant basis the Packers are playing close with teams, and they're not blowing out anyone. And I feel like in close game situations, Russell Wilson is always the guy you want to trust the most. And and Aaron Rodgers, he is someone that you always put on, that you always want to put on like being like one of the best quarterbacks. But he really has something to prove in this game, that he can still be the clutch guy, the guy that could absolutely just could absolutely like kill the Seahawks in this game, and with like one like nice throw, like one amazing throw. And I put more faith right now in Russell Wilson than I do in Aaron Rodgers, and that's why I'm going Seahawks.
So with an exception of the Cardinals in week 4, all of the Seahawks wins have been by one score.
Yep.
Oh, that's interesting. The Seahawks beat the Eagles with the exact same final score as their regular season game.
There you go.
So, like, going back to that one score thing, they were also like 1 yard away from being the 3 seed.
Yeah.
The Seahawks know how to play close games.
Yep.
They don't blow out their opponents very often, like I said, with the exception of that Cardinals game. And they play really well on the road. They've been playing extremely well on the road this season.
Yeah.
And I 100% agree with you. I think that like the Russell Wilson has a lot going for him. I'm not just saying this because I hate the Packers, but the fact that the Seahawks like win close games is a good sign, because they do what they need to do to win. Mm-hmm. Whether or not they blow them out, like they do what they need to do to win, and that's what's important.
Absolutely.
So I'm gonna go with the Seahawks as well.
Yeah. and it's just, again, like, the Packers, yeah, nice year, but, like, I've always felt like I've been wanting more. I wanted to see more out of this Packers team, and they could certainly do that. I think a win against this team, not that, like, it's not like beating the Niners, but I think it is something that it would be something that's like, okay, like, you guys are here, you're here to play. I would be very interested to see if the Packers can take care of business here, and right now, I just look at how the Seahawks, take care of teams. I think they do it in this game. I think they do. They play close with the Niners. Why couldn't they play close with the Packers? That's
exactly.
All. Yep. So
with all these injuries.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right. So agree across the board. No drama.
We did. Yeah.
No drama this week.
No drama this week. That's okay. I like where our heads are at.
Yeah. We do have to repick our Super Bowls before we leave.
Yes, we do.
Which I think
I'm
you
sticking with the
earlier.
Ravens on the AFC side, obviously, and I'm going to put the 49ers in there with the Ravens still winning.
Okay. I think, yeah, I think, you know what, for the sake of just, like, making something interesting in terms of our deferring here, I'm putting the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, baby.
Yeah, I love it.
I'm gonna
for
just for the hell of it, just to see. And I will switch my pick to the Ravens winning it all as well. I think
Okay.
so. I will have the same winner, but I'll defer on the matchup. I'll say the Seahawks end up going on a wild freaking run, and I think take care of business here, and take care of business against the Packers, take care of business against the Niners, presumably, or they get to host a playoff game and then beat Kirk Cousins again. And then
Did you know that the Seahawks were the first playoff bird team to win in like a long time? When two bird teams face each other, the first road bird team.
Yes. I kind of had a feeling that was going to come up during this podcast, but I didn't know when.
Yeah.
Turns out right near the end.
Right at the end. Had to get that in there somewhere. Call motherfuckers. Any last notes?
I think we're good. Honestly, I'm super excited for this weekend. I've been very much like cautionary in terms of getting too hyped up with the playoffs, because I'm like, oh my god, these games, I'm gonna get really excited that they could be close and then they're all gonna be blowouts. I'm gonna try to keep keep being cautious in this sense, but I very much I very much think that there's going to be a lot more close games than people think, because I think there's some people that are like, all right, the Chiefs, Ravens, and Niners, easy. But I don't know. I think anything is possible at this point. It's been a wild year. Why couldn't it still be wild right now? So that's how I see it.
And Chris, the Patriots aren't going to be in the Super Bowl. That's reason enough to celebrate.
Oh, yeah. No, I very much agree, and it's gonna be wow. It is insane right now to think that we just did not have to talk about anything with the Patriots. I know everyone wants to talk about Tom Brady's legacy. Fuck that. We'll do that during our
during
whatever.
the off season. That's off season talk.
That's off season talk. We're playoff mode, baby. All right. Thank you all so much for listening. Enjoy Divisional Round Weekend. See you next week.
Good morrow and good ball. Virtual Ball Boys has been brought to you by Team Chaos Productions. Find us on Twitter at Virtual Ball Boys and find more of our work at Team Chaos Pods.